The world is changing.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
The Middle East has been plunged into war.
It's a map of a curse. It's a map of an arc of terror that Iran has created.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
But something doesn't add up. On the 28th of February, the United States and Israel launched a coordinated military attack on Iran. The justification? Iran's nuclear program. It's expanding ballistic missile capability and Iran being an imminent threat, they said, to the world. War was necessary, inevitable, preemptive, and the consequences were immediate. But what if the reason behind this war isn't as simple? What if it was a reason hidden in plain sight? Within hours, airstrikes had targeted and killed Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, alongside other senior members of his council. Populated areas were struck, and the death toll was rising in the hundreds. Iran retaliated, hitting Israel and US bases in the region. Refineries, ports, and gas fields hit. The Strait of Hormuz effectively shut down. As the region descended into turmoil, both Trump and Netanyahu doubled down on the necessity of the war.
They were going to attack first.
Iran, for 47 years, has been chanting death to America.
So, how did we get here? In 1993, Shimon Peres, former Prime Minister of Israel, wrote a book outlining his vision for Israel's integration into the Middle East, where all states in the region could coexist and flourish. This book was called The New Middle East, a phrase that we would see again from Netanyahu himself. On 22nd of September 2023, Netanyahu stood before the United Nations and unveiled a map with the states he considered or hoped to consider as allies, titled The New Middle East. His new version of the Middle East, a region framed again and again as posing an existential threat, shows a so-called corridor of peace with the Arab states. He warned then that Iran is a curse in the region, an arc of terror he kept insisting that Iran is imposing, and the only way to secure a peaceful new Middle East?
Iran must be stopped. That is our common challenge.
Now, Iran had signed a landmark nuclear deal in 2015, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, placing strict limits on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. But in 2018, Donald Trump withdrew from the deal, collapsing the framework that had restrained Iran's nuclear activity. Then, on the 27th of February, just one day before the war began, negotiations reportedly reached the most significant breakthrough yet. According to Oman's foreign minister, Iran had agreed to never stockpile enriched uranium, with existing material converted into reactor fuel under monitoring from the IAEA, a system that would make building a nuclear bomb effectively impossible. But then the war began. Embassies burning, oil facilities struck, missiles exchanged, from the promise of a corridor of peace to a Middle East crisis deepening.
Israel has a different plan. Their goal is not regime change. They want regime and state collapse. This is the project. Chaos.
And with the chaos of the war spilling into the Arab states, David Hurst, Middle East Eye's editor-in-chief, argues that Israel is the only beneficiary if Arab states are weakened, allowing Israel to redraw its own map of the new Middle East.
The purpose of Israel's war is to disable Iran as a regional power and turn it into a weak, pliant confederation of ethnic cantons. Israel is betting on the weakness of the Arab states to defend themselves and seeks to weaken them further. For it is only in the landscape of a weakened neighborhood that Israel can redraw the map of the Middle East and institute a new Sykes-Picot.
Israeli President Isaac Herzog himself says that the war isn't really about regime change.
Can you clarify what this war is about? Is regime change the goal?
Not necessarily. What is the goal is Middle East change.
But what does the Israeli promise of a new Middle East actually entail? The war doesn't seem to have helped countries that have already expressed willingness for peace and diplomatic relations with Israel.
Prime Minister of Israel, he talk about the Great Israel sometimes. He shows some maps, and these maps, it means there is more Arab countries have to be part of Israel, not part of the Abraham Accord. So there is a confusion here. We cannot have a peace in his condition.
And journalist Jeremy Scahill outlines this.
I think this moment in time represents the apex of the Israeli agenda to build a greater Israel and to wage wars of annihilation, not just against the Palestinian people, but against any forces that could rise to stand in the way of Israel being the dominant military force in the Middle East.
The Greater Israel vision, a vision that originates from the birth of modern Zionism, is the biblical belief that Israel's borders extend from the River Nile to the Euphrates. This includes the lands of Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Saudi Arabia. A vision that Netanyahu has previously described as his great mission, and one that is growing louder among Israeli leaders and supporters.
Does Israel have the right to that land? It would be fine if they took it all.
And the signs appear to already be in place. In southern Lebanon, the Israeli army told civilians to leave to the north of the Litani River, words reminiscent of fringe groups like Ori Tzafon, which during Israel's genocide in Gaza urged Lebanese residents to leave the Jew-owned land. Settler groups advertised new properties. After the elimination of the Hezbollah leadership, do you also dream of a big house, a view of snowy mountains, and a warm community in the land of our ancestors? The advert read. So, a defensive move or a step closer to more land grab? Now, with senators arguing that there was no imminent threat to the United States by the Iranians,
there was no imminent threat to the United States of America by the Iranians.
Constantly shifting reasoning.
But the objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities.
That I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us.
The question becomes, if the threat was not imminent for the US, who exactly stood to gain from this war? The consequences of this war are already being felt in the Middle East and across the world, and not much is being done to stop it. For the region, geopolitical tensions, economic instability, and the specter of a wider war looms, while Israel attempts to redraw the map, with Greater Israel as the heart of a new Middle East.